In my last video, we covered all things vampires. We drastically improved their appearance and introduced new systems and mechanics that transform the way they're played. Today we're going to dive into even more vampire mods, but this time ones that specifically focus on enhancing the experience of playing as a vampire through the introduction of new forms of content. This journey will take us anywhere from a deep underground vampire city, to vast castles that you can choose to call home, to someplace a bit more ominous where you'll be able to get in touch with the origins of all vampires. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Vampires are seen as the enemies of humanity, and both the Dawn Guard and the Vigilance of Stendarr pose an ever-growing threat to them. As such, vampires need places where they can go without being vilified, safe havens where they're surrounded by other vampires. The next few mods do just that by introducing new locations to visit throughout your vampire playthrough. Rumors have begun to surface throughout the taverns of Skyrim that suggest a secret city exists that serves as a safe haven for all vampires, where they can display their true nature without the fear of exposure. This place is known as Coldhaven, a sprawling underground city where vampires can congregate away from prying eyes. The city is filled to the brim with new NPCs. It has its own functioning economy, politics, and factions. In the lower district of the city you'll find everything from alchemy and magic shops to clothing shops as well as a blacksmith. These shops contain some goods that can't be bought elsewhere, such as blood glass weapons that have inherent effects independent of any enchantments you might add. Market stalls that sell a variety of different types of items line the streets as well, and they'll even welcome some humans into the city that are interested in trade. But make no mistake, this city is ruled by vampires, and as such the humans that reside here slave away in the fields, and are treated as a renewable food source and blood supply for the citizens of Coldhaven. So as a vampire you'll never go hungry here. The local tavern even specializes in its own form of blood wine that can be used to satiate your hunger. The upper district of the city is home to the noble factions of Coldhaven, and the ruler resides in the large central tower of the city. If you choose to get involved in the politics of the city, you can join one of the noble houses, and you'll gain different benefits depending on your choice. There's tons of quests to be completed in Coldhaven along with many mysteries to be uncovered, providing hours of additional content for your vampire playthrough. If you're looking for a hideaway that's a bit closer to civilization, then you'll be interested in unique vampire dens, a mod which adds small hideouts to each of Skyrim's major cities. These are hidden locations that you can slip into to avoid the sunlight, or to grab a quick bite to eat because each of these new locations houses thralls to feed on. The dens are also occupied by a few other vampires that liven up the place a bit, some of which also act as vendors. The dens themselves vary in the architectural style and furnishing conform to the city it's located in. For instance, the Riften Den that's located within the Ratway is a bit crude and rustic, while the one in Solitude is 2 stories and is far more elegant and refined in its design. The one in Windhelm has the same gothic stone structure that the city is known for, while the Markarth Den looks to be constructed from the remnants of an old Dwemer ruin. These dens do an incredible job at selling the idea that there's a functioning underground society of vampires, and with the combination of this mod and Coldhaven you'll have many new places to frequent as a vampire. But if you're looking for somewhere a bit more permanent, then you'll want a suitable vampire themed player home. There's tons of player home mods that fit this criteria. I've selected a handful of what I believe to be some of the best ones. Although some of you may be reluctant to download a brand new player home when you're practically handed one of the most powerful vampire family's personal castles after defeating Harkin. Of course I'm referring to Castle Volkihar. Although the castle itself is in quite a state of disrepair. There's fallen columns, cobwebs, piles of rubble and debris littered about the castle. With the mod Castle Volkihar rebuilt, a pickaxe and a bit of patience you can now restore the castle to its former glory. You'll now be able to clean and repair all of the damaged rooms within the castle, and by clearing the northern tower attached to the courtyard you'll gain access to a player home with safe storage, weapon racks, mannequins, and a place to sleep, while the rest of the castle provides all the other essentials you could possibly need. So now you could comfortably settle into Castle Volkihar. It's also worth mentioning that ownership of the various cells will now be marked as your property, so no longer will you be accused of stealing the stuff you worked so hard to seize from Harkin. If you're looking for a brand new castle that's even more grandiose than Castle Volkihar, then look no further than Raven Castle, a massive player home that has everything you could possibly need and then some. The castle has an armory, trophy room, library, ballroom, alchemy lab, torture chamber, and that's really only just to name a few. The sheer scale of this place can be overwhelming, and you can easily get lost in the endless corridors of this castle. If you look hard enough, you'll find your fair share of secret passages and hidden rooms throughout the castle, some more difficult to discover than others. But if you explore these mysterious places, you'll be able to learn more about the interesting history of the property. Despite the castle's enormous scale, every room has been given its fair share of attention to detail, and the effort that went into creating the castle doesn't go unnoticed. The castle itself isn't just large, but also the area around it occupies its own small world space and requires you to traverse a large forest before even reaching the castle. But make no mistake, Raven Castle doesn't feel the least bit empty, because there's tons of NPCs that occupy the castle, and they can be seen going about their lives. You'll find armored guards that patrol the castle, along with servants as well as your very own personal steward. Owning this player home really makes you feel as though you're a person of importance, and nothing encapsulates that more than the grand throne room that's truly fit for a king. If you're not a fan of large, grandiose castles and you're looking for something a bit more quaint and reserved, then you'll probably like Stalker's Refuge, a remote home located to the southwest of Falkreath. The home shares a lot of assets with that of Castle Volkihar, and it would be difficult to confuse it for anything other than the lair of a vampire. Human flesh and bones are scattered about, blood potions line the shelves of the storage room, gargoyle statues are perched about the home, and a recruitable hellhound called Vane stands guard over the place in your absence. The location has all the essentials you would expect from a player home, such as adequate places for storage, enchanting tables, its very own alchemy lab, a smith and furnace. Also, it wouldn't be much of a vampire lair if it didn't have its very own dungeon to house thralls and cattle to feed on at your own convenience. The next mod, Hill House, is a 2-story home that looks to be like something straight out of a horror film. The home leans heavily into a dark gothic theme, which the author accomplishes by utilizing Skyrim's assets in new and interesting ways, but also makes use of a ton of new custom assets that really make this player home stand out from others. The home has its fair share of interactive features such as a fully functioning shower, faucets that can be turned on and off, food that can be set on the kitchen table, as well as a button in the master bedroom that can transform this unassuming room into something more fit for a vampire. Now let's shift our focus elsewhere to vampire-themed weapons and armor. My go-to vampire armor mod is the Volkihar Knight Armor, a simplistic and lore-friendly armor set that comes in both a heavy and light version for both male and female characters. Not only does this armor set look incredible, but it also has some truly interesting set bonuses when all 4 corresponding pieces are equipped together. There's 3 separate sets with differing color schemes and set bonuses. The red set provides a 10% chance to throw melee attackers into the air, draining their health by 20 points for 4 seconds. The blue set muffles your footsteps and drains the stamina, magic, and health of nearby enemies while in sunlight. The brown set turns you into a wisp of smoke when you sneak outside of combat, granting you invisibility. These set bonuses are independent of enchantments, and they'll work alongside any vampire overhaul mod you may be using. The set bonuses are so versatile that they have the potential to impact your playstyle, which is what really separates this armor mod from the rest. After confronting and defeating Harkin, the armor sets can be found in a chest behind the altar. But before we consider defeating Harkin, let's give him an armor set befitting a royal vampire of his stature. Lord of Coldharbour is a vampire-themed armor set with an incredible attention to detail. It replaces the armor that Harkin typically wears, and of course by defeating him you'll be able to attain it. Harkin's version has a unique set of enchantments, but a basic version can be crafted. Besides armor, the mod also adds both a greatsword and rapier that looks absolutely incredible, and can go well with nearly any of the armor sets I'll be showcasing. The next mod, Kozakowy's female vampire armor replacer, is, as the title suggests, an armor designed to replace the vanilla female vampire armor. While mostly staying true to the original design, it improves on it in nearly every aspect. From the new excellent quality textures, to the subtle design elements that have been added. The result is arguably one of the best looking vanilla armor redesigns I've ever seen. The next armor set is one that I've been using on and off for years, and that would be the Drakul Armor, which was released over 10 years ago, but it's still worth mentioning because it truly stands the testament of time. It's an intricate and high quality set of armor with an imposing design that's fit for any vampire. Next up we have Lustmord Vampire Armor, another classic armor set that was released all the way back in 2012, but is still one of my go-to armor sets for a female vampire character. Although in the process of making this video I discovered this armor set also has a male counterpart. but it's quite apparent that the male version was an afterthought in this case. The last armor mod is the Twilight Princess Armor, a female exclusive armor mashup that comes with a slew of different variants and accessories that can be mixed and matched to create an appearance that suits your personal preferences. There's an optional SMP version that adds physics to the cloak and tassel, which is something I love to see when it comes to armor mods. Lastly, let's take a look at a few quest mods that provide some additional content for your vampire playthrough, on top of some worthwhile rewards. Dark Envoy is a small quest mod that requires the player to overcome a few challenges in order to become Molag Bal's chosen champion. Upon proving your worth to the Daedric Prince and completing the quest, you'll be able to drink from the altar of Molag Bal, getting access to a bunch of new spells that will further empower both the mortal and vampire lord forms. Spells such as Shadow Pact, which places 3 Deathhounds within your shadow that aid the caster whenever they enter combat. Furthermore, the mod adds a handful of abilities that enhance your mobility, mainly a new bat form that enables you to fly freely. But you can also become a cloud of bats and teleport to nearly any place within your line of sight. For traversing greater distances, a spell exists that allows you to teleport to a variety of locations across the map, as well as to up to 6 places that you've previously marked. There's a few different destruction spells, some that deal pure damage, others that drain health from your enemies or trap their souls, as well as a power that creates an eclipse to block out the harmful effects of the sun. But the most powerful ability you receive is one that will allow you to pry open the gates of Coldharbour itself, allowing danger to pour through and wreak havoc on your enemies. While this power isn't the most balanced, it's fun to become the focal point of a new Oblivion-like crisis and watch as danger destroy everything in their path. While we're on the topic of Coldharbour, the next quest mod, Krovaxis, will take you on a journey directly to the realm of Coldharbour itself. There's a new mysterious ruin that can be found to the far northeast of Winterhold. This location is what's left of an ancient temple dedicated to the worship of none other than Molag Bal, the Daedric princess responsible for the creation of vampirism. At this temple you'll find a portal to Coldharbour where you'll be able to explore the Daedric realm. Upon completion of the quest, you'll gain access to a section of the temple that acts as a small player home. There you will find various crafting stations, mannequins, storage containers, and weapon racks. There's also a new and unique way to contract vampirism, making this a great place to be in your journey as a vampire. That's all the mods I have for you today, but I'd like to take a brief moment to discuss the state of the channel and what you can expect from it in the future. As many of you have suggested in the previous vampire video, I do plan on creating a werewolf focused video to accompany this series, so expect to see that in the foreseeable future. Also, with Starfield's release on the horizon, I plan on making content for that game as well. Of course, let me know your thoughts on this. Are you interested in seeing videos on Starfield? Or would you prefer I stick to Skyrim? Or maybe there's an entirely different game that you'd like to see me make a video on. Also, if you're looking to support the channel and at the same time improve your performance in Skyrim with some new hardware, then consider checking out my lineup of gaming PCs over at Apex Gaming. If you're interested, the link can be found in the description. And be sure to use promo code Nostalgia at checkout for up to $250 off. With that said, links to all the mods I've covered in this video can be found in the description. If you download any of them, be sure to endorse the mod authors for their hard work. And if you made it this far, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you're new. And as always, thank you for watching.